Okay, today when we were doing some problems, we talked about ratios, and it seemed like you were a little bit confused about something. Okay?
Yeah.
So we call this a ratio. I know you've used fractions before where we put the part over the total, but we're going to do this a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're just going to keep track of these red and green dots. Okay? Green and blue. Sorry, green and blue dots. Okay? All right, you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this ratio here, how many green dots do I have?
1,
And how many blue dots do I have?
2.
Okay. So we say this 1 to 2, and we write it as a fraction like this. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, this time I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to do 4, and I want you to tell me how you say that as a ratio.
3
Yep.
out of 4.
Well, okay, but this is not the total anymore, right? So we're not going to say 3 out of 4. We're going to say 3 to 4. You have 3 of one and 4 of the other. Okay.
So 3, 2, 4.
3 to 4. 3 over here, 2, 4 over here. Okay? 3, 2, 4. Because the total is 7, right? If I count these up, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. But it's okay. We can keep track of it like that. Green and blue. Okay? So how do I say this?
6 to 3.
Okay, good. Excellent. Okay? Now, this is always going to be in one container, but I can repeat containers. So here I have 1 green and 2 blues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And here I have 1 container, but I can put in 2 containers or 3 containers or 4 containers. Okay? The only thing you have to remember is they're always going to be the same. If I put in another container, it's going to have the same amount of greens and the same amount of blues, the same ratio. You get it? Every single.
The total is going to be different.
The total is going to be different, yes. How many total greens do I have here in this one now when I have these 4?
4.
And how many total blues do I have?
8.
8. So the ratio of 1 to 2 kind of is the same as the ratio of 4 to 8. It's just the same ratio repeating over and over and over again. And that's why a lot of times we simplify fractions, because if I see 4 over 8, then I can break this into 4 groups, and the smallest one has 1 out of 2. Okay? So a lot of times we simplify fractions with these ratios because it's an easy way to look at the pattern that we see. Okay? Okay. So if I have here, let's do 5 green and let's do 8 blue. Do I have, in this one set here, oh, let's do that again. Okay, in this one set right here,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how many greens do I have and how many blues do I have? Let's count
You
them.
have
1, 2, count them up. Greens first, count all those.
4.
Count better than that. 1, 2, 3.
4.
Okay, how many?
4.
Count better than that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Okay, good. And how many blues do you have? 2, 3.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So I write this 5 of 8. Okay. Are there more on top or on bottom? Are there more greens or blues?
More blues.
Okay, and we're always putting the blues on bottom. It's just this example. We don't have to do it that way. That's just the way we chose to do it. Okay, blues go on bottom. So if there's more blues in one of them, when I have a set, there's still more blues, right?
But do we always have to put the biggest on bottom?
No, we don't always have to put the biggest on bottom. It depends on what we started, and that's a great question. So this time, let's start with more of the greens and less of the blues. So now I put more on top, okay? Because this is a ratio. It's not quite the same as what we talk about a fraction when we think about part of whole. Although that is a ratio too. It's just a little bit different way to think about it, okay?
How is it different?
We'll have to talk about that later, but I need you to understand this first.
Okay.
Okay? All right. That's a great question, and we will talk about that, but we'll talk about it later. Okay? All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this one to 5. Okay? So I have 5 of these containers. Okay? How many greens do I have now? I have 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So 3 plus 3 is?
6.
Plus another 3 is?
9.
Plus another 3 is?
12.
Plus one more 3 is?
16.
Nope, 15. Nice try.
Yes.
Close. Okay. All right, so I have 15 of the greens in total, and how many of the blues do I have? We're just going to count 2 at a time. 2.
4, 6, 8, 10.
I know you know how to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? You remember that? Okay. So now I have a total of 15 tenths in my ratio. I have 15 to 10. That's if I look at the whole group, I have 15 to 10. But I can still think about what everyone contains is still 3 to 2. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we can think about it as a single one, as just one row, or these groups of rows. Okay? Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, good job. Thank you.
Actually, I have one.
All right, what's your question?
what is this?
This is some stuff that we're going to do in algebra. So when you
What's
get
algebra?
when you get older, you're going to start to use letters and numbers to represent numbers. Letters, not just numbers, but also letters. It's a little bit tricky, and we'll talk about it more later. So when I talk to older students, I talk about this. But what I need you to understand is just what we talked about today. Is just understanding what a very simple ratio is when it's written like a fraction like this. Okay. We also write ratios like this. Remember how you got confused about whole parts and wholes and parts, like we talk about fractions sometimes? This is a way to kind of do the math with the fraction, with the ratio, but this is actually the best way to write a ratio because then we know we're not talking about a fraction. So you see this ratio, it says 15 to 10, and that's almost the same as this ratio of 3 to 2. It's just more of that same ratio.
But people,
Can you stand over here, please?
sometimes people get confused, right?
They get confused if you write a fraction because usually the fraction is the parts over the whole. But it's okay to do math like this, and if you know it's a ratio, it's okay to write it like that. But no one's going to get confused if you write a ratio like this because that's the notation for a ratio. Okay. But when you do the calculations, a lot of times you do it as a fraction like this. Okay? And we'll talk more about that later.
Okay, bye.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Thank you.